What's going on, everybody? Zack Rosenblatt here with Mike Kaye. We're at NovaCare Complex for the latest episode of the No Huddle Show. We went to a mostly empty locker room today. We talked to Mike Groh. We talked to Jim Schwartz. We're reflecting a little bit on the Jets game. We're looking ahead a little bit to the Vikings game. I guess now that we're a few days removed from that game, are there even really anything to take away from that?
No, not really.
Yeah, there's not really much. I mean, I guess we'll find out. So there's a bunch of random guys who had good games, but I don't think Orlando Scandrick will still be the highest graded player in the NFL after the Vikings game.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think there's a lot of positive stuff you can take away from Josh Sweat having a pretty good game. He did well against the run, against the pass, and on special teams. I think Scandrick showed that he is not, just some old dude that can't play anymore, can't run anymore. And then I think Craig James you're encouraged by. I mean, they did a really good job against the wide receivers, Rasul Douglas and Craig James for that matter. And look, I think Rasul Douglas has kind of shown that he can be a starting corner in this league. I wouldn't say he's a good number one corner, but I think at worst he's a really solid number two corner. And I think that was my biggest takeaway for the defense. I also think, sacks come in bunches, and I think the team can build on this. I've already started watching the Vikings, and I think they definitely can build on the pressure.
Do they have a bad offensive line still?
They don't have a bad offensive line, but it's definitely probably tilted towards the bottom end of league average.
So it's not Jets bad, but it's not great.
Yeah, it's not Jets bad, but they're not the Jets, they're not the Texans, but they're also not the Cowboys or the
Eagles. Yeah.
So I think there's going to be opportunities there, especially up the middle. And then on offense, I think the takeaway is Carson Wentz doesn't have to be a superhero every week if you can run the ball effectively and play defense well. That's easier said than done, as it's shown this season. But I think Carson being able to kind of take a step back and not having to be Superman might be actually good for his long-term durability this season. And I also think it kind of gives him perspective as to how he wants to, run this offense and make plays and such. And I think we learned a little bit about how they want to use Alshon Jeffrey moving forward. A lot of those short screen passes, the quick hits, and having him pick up yards moving forward, which can be like an extension of the running game. I think Jordan Howard's kind of supplanted, Miles Sanders in the running back race, which I know you want to talk about. But just in general, I think the things you take away from that are more like, that's interesting, as opposed to, wow, that's fact,
Yeah, I will say this is going to be their biggest challenge in terms of the defense they're facing. I know the Vikings, in theory, were their biggest challenge on the road to the Super Bowl a couple years ago, and they just destroyed them. But this is a team that's good against the run, it's good against the pass. So if the running game isn't working as well as it did last week, like Carson Wentz is going to have to beat them. And the last 2 weeks he hasn't had to do that. They've really missed Deshaun Jackson. We'll get into that in a second, his status. I don't imagine he plays this week. So they're going to have to find a way to make things happen. I want to talk about Nelson Agholor, too. He just hasn't been a factor at all on offense. So the lack of weapons has made Zach Ertz essentially just getting short catches. He's only gotten 5 catches for 50 yards basically every week, it seems like. He got his first touchdown. Goddard hasn't really been a big part of the passing game. He's been more of a run blocker. Agholor, like I said, just ineffective. Mac Hollins has been more involved in the offense, and even he only had 1 target, I think, last week. So you need the receivers to do something.
Yeah, I think when you look at between Mac Hollins and Nelson Agholor, they both probably played a combined 100 snaps and
have 1 catch.
Yeah, they had 1 catch and 5 targets. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, Nelson Agholor has 1 catch on 5 targets over the last 2 weeks combined.
Yeah, that's rough.
I believe that's the right number. Yeah.
Yeah. No, you're right.
Well, and so we can let's talk about Nelson Agholor real quick, because I know we've talked about him on the show in the past.
Oh,
I think he's one of the easiest players to criticize on this team right now, and I think he deserves it. Mike Groh was asked, if there's what concerns they have with how Agholor's played recently, has been as involved, blah blah blah. In Mike Groh fashion, he said something that angered everybody in the fan base, of course. But he said he's done everything we've asked of him. He does a lot of stuff behind the scenes. But he's done everything we've asked of him. Everybody latched on to, obviously, because what he's done has been one catch, and then the 2 games before that, he had some of the worst drops of his career. So, like, I know you were high on him coming into the year. I wasn't as high, but I was high on him. Like, I thought he had talent. I've come back down a little bit on what he is as a player. He's more of a supporting role than a guy that should be one of your top 4 options. But where do you stand on him after seeing what he's done these first 5 weeks?
Well, I mean, I do think he's a utility player, right? So you can use him in the slot, you can use him outside. He is a pretty above-average blocker, in my opinion. He can get deep. We saw that a couple of times in this past game. I just don't know if the chemistry is what it used to be with him and Wentz.
Yeah.
I don't know.
In 2017, they really had it.
Yeah, I don't know if the confidence is there for Nelson, maybe. That fumble was brutal. It was caused by himself.
2 weeks ago, yeah. When he fumbled it out of bounds on his one catch this last week, by the way.
Yes, he did.
He can't hold on to the ball.
There was a play that didn't count where they said that Carson basically fumbled, but his arm was clearly coming forward. The Jets picked it up and returned it, and Nelson put an absolute monster hit on
I didn't even see that.
Yeah.
So maybe he should be playing quarterback. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's not for a lack of effort. That's for sure. I mean, there are times where it looks like he's lost where the ball's supposed to be.
Saying. He just makes, for a player in his 5th year, he makes way too many mental lapses, it seems like.
Yeah, and I think that's fair to say. I think, he's a guy that I feel like his role's different every game, and sometimes that can negatively affect a guy's confidence or his rhythm as a pass catcher. Not a great excuse, but it is the reality of the situation. They clearly trust Alshon Jeffrey more. They clearly trust Zach Ertz more. Dallas Goedert's getting attention. Matt Collins is basically a decoy at this point. Carson Wentz has 3 or 4 guys he can throw to, and 2 of them are running backs.
Yeah, Arcega Whiteside isn't even playing. Yeah, Miles Sanders has been their best receiver.
Yeah, actually, Miles Sanders might be the most dynamic running back that Carson's worked with from a standpoint of being able to catch passes, pick up blocks, and be a threat down the field. As far as being a threat down, look, Darren Sproles can catch every pass ever or whatever, but he doesn't legitimately run routes and run go routes downfield.
Almost all of Miles Sanders, he has I think 3 or 4 30-yard catches so far.
Yeah,
and I think most of them have been on wheel routes. That thing seems unstoppable when they do it at the right moment.
Yeah, he's caught stuff on swings and wheel routes, and look, he's effective, right? Yeah. He's got good lateral movement, which allows him to get. But
like you were saying, it's not great that he's the pass option right now.
Right. But that said, though, Donovan McNabb didn't have great receivers, and they used Brian Westbrook in a similar fashion, which I think is kind of interesting. And I think Miles is able to be more of a receiving threat and take those downfield runs and have that endurance and everything because Jordan Howard's played so well on the ground. That said, Nelson Agholor. Let's put a bow on Nelson Agholor. Yeah. He needs to be big in this game because what's going to happen is Matt Collins is going to be shut down by Trey Waynes, and Alshon Jeffrey versus Xavier Rhodes is going to be a tough matchup because Xavier Rhodes has really good size.
He'll follow him, right?
Yeah, probably, and he has really good size. That said, both Waynes and Rhodes are susceptible to speed, and so you're going to need Nelson Agholor to get downfield and make some plays. And I'm wondering, they knew they were going to have to go through this stretch. Maybe they were kind of trying to hide that area of their offense with Nelson. That might be a stretch. But if Nelson can stretch the field, they're going to look good. Carson wants to throw downfield.
He does. I mean, he targeted him twice down the field in that game.
He wants to, and I think he'll have his opportunities.
Yeah, I think I saw on Twitter, I think the number was he had in the first 2 games, I think he averaged 7 passes, 15 yards or more down the field. And I think since he's had less than 7 total.
Yeah, and I think that's partially because they want him to get the ball up quickly and avoid the rush. And the offensive line's played better.
Jackson not being on the field.
Obviously. Right, and the offensive line's played better.
By the way, Agholor, in that NFC Championship game, he had a 42-yard catch. So, more of that.
Yeah, I mean, I think when you look at this matchup, they're really going to have to utilize their side acts, as it were. Like, Alshon probably won't be shut down, but I don't think he's going to be effective downfield on jump
He'll be more of a red zone type, yeah.
I think they'll do what they did basically in this game against Jermaine Johnson. They're going to give him the ball immediately and have him try to pick up yardage and break tackles. Zach Ertz is going up against, Harrison Smith, who I think is one of the better cover-free safeties in the league. He kind of plays both free safety and strong safety. Their coverage unit's good, man. Mike Zimmer knows how to build up coverage units. The problem is they're going to be susceptible to the run if you constantly use this rotation the way that it has been used. The Eagles will be in trouble if they become one-dimensional. The same thing can be said on the other side of the ball, which is basically what the Vikings have been outside of last week. Dalvin Cook is maybe great. He has done
The Eagles have yet to be run on so far.
Well, and it's not even that he just runs the ball well. They use him in the screen game a ton. Like, this team runs screen passes like every other play.
Well, because they don't trust Kirk Cousins to do anything else, I guess.
Kirk doesn't really throw downfield. You got to be obviously weary of Thielen on crossing routes. I wouldn't be shocked if they double team him on almost every play, which is tough because then you also have Stephon Diggs on the outside who can burn you. Then again, I don't see Kirk Cousins throwing the ball downfield, so we'll see.
Kirk has had some success in his career against the Eagles.
He has. He's also, I was watching the Giants-Vikings game, and he sat in the pocket for hours, it felt like. So there'll be opportunities to hit him, especially if the defense can bring in some momentum from there. I actually wouldn't be shocked if they tried to send somebody else other than Scandrick on a blitz because of how effective it was last week.
Yeah. So just go back to Agholor and like the down the field thing. So Deshaun Jackson, let's do some injury updates now too. So Deshaun Jackson, Doug didn't sound very confident that he's going to play this week, and my impression is that they're aiming for the Cowboys game, and I wouldn't be surprised if it still took long. It's one of those injuries where, like, I don't think they even know how long it's going to take, which isn't really ideal for a guy who needs speed. And they clearly have missed him. Like, we've talked about that. There's only so many different ways we can say that. Mm-hmm. I am very curious to see if he's back for that Cowboys game, though.
Yeah, it was something that a lot of people complained about when they did acquire him, that his durability isn't really there and it hasn't been for years. Mm-hmm. But when he's in there, man, the impact. Frankly, you want him for the second half of the season. And I think that's the mindset is, if he's 100% for the second half of the season,
that's a good point.
This offense
and the second half of the season is where their schedule gets much easier. So.
Correct. Yeah, you want to have him against the Patriots.
So if you can go to those last 8 games because the Patriots are in the last 8, I believe.
Yep, they are.
Yeah, so in the last 8 games, if you can just get that offense rolling, you have the defense playing like it is, everybody gets healthy by then, like, I wouldn't rush him back necessarily.
Well, in the majority of your home games, it feels like your big home games are in that second half.
And they're coming after the bye, yeah.
And when Deshaun gets the ball, that the link is completely different.
Man, especially if you can do it against the Patriots.
That's going
to be a fun game.
The Patriots haven't given up a passing touchdown all season, and they have 11 picks.
That's going to be the test of Carson Wentz, that game. Yeah. Especially with how good that defense is. It's unreal how good
it's going to be a test of us, too, because it's a 4:25 kickoff.
That's right. We don't really get many of those.
Those are literally my least favorite games to cover. But that's for another day.
All right, so other injuries. So Darren Sproles, it sounds like it's week to week, which is never a good sign for Darren Sproles. Like we said, it's like his body just shut down after, I don't know if we said that on the podcast or since then, but it's like his body shut down after he got into the top 5 because it was almost immediately after that. And
immediately
It's a quad strain. He's week to week. And if Darren Sproles is week to week with a soft tissue injury, then I'm not sure when we see him again.
Probably after the bye.
So it's become pretty obvious that this is a 2-man rotation. They like to say it's a 3-man. Even when Sproles was healthy, they're not going to play Clement on offense unless they absolutely need to, I think.
Yeah, Mike Rowe was asked about it.
I know, he kind of deflected.
He didn't just hedge. He
whenever they respond to a question about playing time without an answer is how you know a guy's not going to get in there.
Every coach is like this when they say, we'll see how it goes. That means that they've already seen how it goes and they know.
I do wonder with Sproles out, with Jackson out, if they think about bringing Boston Scott up this week or not. Maybe cut Ryan Lewis or something like that. I don't know if they actually will do that, if they like Boston Scott enough or trust. He didn't really show that much in the preseason.
Yeah, there was a lot of big hype on him as a returner.
I mean, Clement hasn't really showed smart decision-making as a returner, though the coaches keep acting like they're confident in him. And Nelson Agholor will be the other one they put back there. He is a dynamic athlete.
At punt returner.
Punt returner. I mean, kick return will still be Miles Sanders, I imagine. Before we get in the running back rotation, one more, Sidney Jones. Feel a little more confident that he plays this week. He was active, didn't play. I think it was like an in case of emergency type situation with him. Mm-hmm. He was mostly limited all of last week. Doug made it sound like he didn't even get any reps. So this week, I imagine he'll get the reps. Again, it's a soft tissue thing, though. So, like, if he doesn't play, I also wouldn't be surprised. But as of now, my guess is that Sidney plays against the Vikings, which is good.
Yeah,
to have a little depth there at least.
Yeah, I think Ryan Lewis plays maybe one more week. It is on the active
roster
for one more week. Yeah, I mean, unless they bring up Josh Perkins, this 2 tight end group is just a ticking time bomb. I
can't believe that after what happened against the Falcons, I can't believe they're still doing that.
It's shocking. And today Mike Groh kind of deflected that to Howie.
Yeah, he said that's a Howie and Doug question,
which is fair. But you could also talk about how that kind of undermines your ability to call plays.
But he doesn't call plays though.
Well, but I mean to design plays. Sorry, excuse me.
He doesn't though.
No, I know. Excuse me. No. But I think from their standpoint, having V in there as the extra blocker has worked. My concern is you are with the trust in Agholor and Matt Collins and how much they don't target them. If you lose Goddard or Ertz, who is he throwing to? Who's Carson throwing to?
Yeah,
you know
I mean, we just talked about how he's running low on options already.
Yeah, like, I don't understand. And you know what? Alex Ellis played 6 snaps. I think 3 of those were touchdowns. So, it's worth...
I wonder, it probably would require including Agholor, and I don't know how much value he has on the open market, but I wonder at what point Howie does consider trading for a receiver if it keeps going. Like, the wide receivers have been pretty bad this season.
Yeah.
And I don't know what even if... Zay Jones isn't a good player, but he just got traded to the Raiders
for a
5th round pick or something.
But a 2021 pick.
Oh, was it? I didn't even see that.
Yeah.
But I wonder if they even just take a flyer on a guy like that just to see if they can get somebody in there who can run routes and get open.
Should be noted, like I just said, I almost called Zack when that trade went down because I was laughing so hard.
Zay Jones?
Yeah, the Zay Jones trade. Was like
that's. I mean, it is a few years away.
Well,
but...
the Raiders keep trading for wide receivers. Sorry to get sidetracked. Anyway,
and the Raiders trade for guys who have off the field issues, and then they wind up flaming out. Martavis Bryant for a 3rd round pick, and then cutting him after training camp or something.
Well, they traded for Trevor Davis from the Packers the other day or a couple of weeks ago. The other day.
By the way, the Eagles did sign a guy to the practice squad, Ryan Davis. Is that his name?
No, Rob Davis.
Rob Davis, and he's apparently fast. So
he's super fast, and he played for the Redskins. He was the 6th round pick of the Redskins in 2017. Mostly been on their practice squad. He didn't play in that Week 1 game because he was still on their practice squad. Played 3 games this season. He's got 1 pass for 11 yards in his career. He's not going to make the difference, but he's an intriguing prospect, in a way that Duran Miller was an interesting prospect last year. They need to figure out what they're going to do contingency plan-wise for Deshaun Jackson, because at this point in the season, even if he comes back, what if he gets injured again? Or what if he tweaks that injury? On top of that, long-term, you can't depend on him to be the only deep threat in your offense. And that's why I think, I brought this up. Look, Stephon Diggs played well against the Giants last week, and he said that he wanted to be traded, or he's just disappointed, or he's frustrated. Sorry, I don't want to put words in his mouth. He acknowledged that he was frustrated.
When he said there's truth to all rumors. So.
Right. But, okay, cool. I'm going to start one. So I propose, check this out. Here's this trade proposal. Hear me out here, folks. A 3rd round pick and Nelson Agholor for Stephon Diggs.
I don't know. I don't think they would do that.
You don't think who would do that?
The Vikings.
Okay, here's why you do it. 1, Nelson Agholor is a bulk catch guy. He works in the middle of the field. That's what Kirk Cousins likes. Stephon Diggs has money
Aguilar's also not good, though.
Fair. But here's the thing. Here's why this all works out. Stephon Diggs, they can save $9.5 million by trading him. That's basically Nelson Agholor's salary right now.
They would have a $9 million dead cap next year.
Right. But they would also have the...
And you're only getting a third-round pick in Agholor, who's expiring out of that.
But then you also get the compensatory pick that comes with Agholor if Agholor signs the deal somewhere else. So,
but it's not like Aguilar's going to get a third-round pick, compensatory pick.
No, but he might get you a sixth. So
the Vikings aren't only trading Diggs for Agholor in a third. There's no way they're doing that.
But they don't. But I think Stephon Diggs is extremely overrated. For one, two, if he really wants out and they're not winning,
you still just don't dump him for a third.
I mean, he was a second-round pick. I mean, it's not like...
He's 25 and he's had 1,000-yard seasons every year of his career, which Agholor has never even approached.
I'm just saying.
Okay,
keep this in mind.
And see what people think.
Keep this in mind, all right?
When it doesn't happen, sure. I'll keep that in mind.
When it does happen, holler at your boy.
Okay. So let's talk about the running back rotation. So Doug did a rare thing where he pretty much admitted that. So first he kind of implied that Jordan Howard had overtaken Miles Sanders for the number one running back, and then somebody asked him to clarify, and he's like, yeah, that's what it looks like. Knowing Doug, he did that whole thing where he said Sidney Jones was the starter, right? And then he wasn't the starter. Mm-hmm. So it's possible he's just messing with us or yanking our chain or something. But, we both advocated for this. It makes a lot of sense. It's not like Miles Sanders isn't getting the ball. He's still going to get the ball almost as much as a starter would. They have the same exact amount of carries now, which is kind of crazy. Though Sanders has a bunch more snaps just because of those first couple weeks where Howard was barely playing for whatever reason, and it looks worse now. But what was your reaction when Doug admitted that? Howard's probably been the better running back so far, runner.
Cool, he has eyes.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. I think what they're realizing is that Howard does need to get into a rhythm. He basically admitted that during the press conference. And I think, you can use guys differently when you have those roles more defined. I think Sanders comes in and is the ultimate change of pace back because of his ability to now pass block and catch passes downfield. You know what Howard is, but just because you know what Howard is doesn't mean that's a bad thing. He's the guy that's going to move the chains after getting hit. He's done really well against contact. He's very patient in his blocks, following his blocks. I just think it makes a lot of sense. You got to call a spade sometimes.
Yeah, just to give a little spoiler, I won't dive into it too much, but I'm going to be writing something for the morning where I think the Eagles should not only be featuring Howard more, but should give him a contract extension, get ahead of the curb.
So you spoiled your article.
But the point being, he just fits so well with Miles Sanders, so I think it would make a lot of sense to get ahead of the curve on that. But yeah, Howard's the fact that Howard has also kind of become a decent pass catcher is just I'm just been really impressed with the way he's adapted to here. You don't hear from him, he's not a big talker, but he's been one of the, I don't know about a surprise, but he's been a pleasant, breakout performer for the Eagles this year.
And he's been a good soldier, too.
Yeah.
You've never heard any complaints about him not starting any games. This is a guy who was a Pro Bowler, who had the third most rushing yards in the league entering this season since 2016, sorry. And so, I think he's a guy that you reward. If he continues to play the way he's played, which he's kind of fitting this offense seamlessly, I think, when you get a 15-yard run off your first carry, that's really helpful for the offensive line. That's helpful to get into a rhythm. And I think the Eagles have taken some responsibilities off Carson Wentz's plate, at least from setting the tone with the way they've used the running game.
Yeah, so another topic that came up this week, that thing is at least a little bit interesting. Doug Peterson was asked about how Derek Barnett has 3 roughing the unnecessary roughness penalties over the last 4 weeks. I think he has more than a bunch of teams do for the whole season. And the question was, is he developing a reputation as a dirty player? Do you have to talk to him? Doug kind of played it off. He's like, we have did not seem to believe that. Where do you kind of stand with the way, I don't remember this being a part of Derek Barnett's whole thing in the last 2 years. Maybe now he's more comfortable in being himself or something, but where do you stand on the way he's just, I get everybody always points to he plays until the whistle blows and it's a violent sport. Everybody always throws that out whenever he makes a mistake. At a certain point he has to take responsibility for this, right?
I think it's more of that he's just aggressive.
Yeah.
You know, I think he's got a chip on his shoulder. I think the injury last year kind of put some, gave him some perspective as opposed to, hey, I really want to contribute. I want to do everything I can. And I think maybe he's overexerting himself a little bit. I don't think he's a dirty player at all. Really nice guy, too. Just because you're not a dirty player doesn't mean you don't make dirty plays.
Yeah.
Some of the stuff's been uncalled for, but I also think if you look at the context of the game and some of these matchups, it happens sometimes. There's stuff that we miss, too. So, no, I don't think he's a dirty player at all. I just think there's definitely a chip on his shoulder, and there's some maybe over-aggression in his game.
I mean, he is still young, too, so... I don't think he's purposely necessarily doing stuff, but he's made some dumb decisions. Like last week, I think we talked about it a little bit, or not last week, a few days ago, where during the Nate Gary interception, the offensive lineman shoved him and he turned all the way around to retaliate by diving at his knees. You can't do that. It should have cost the touchdown. He's lucky it didn't.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't watch the replay, but I'm pretty sure it happened before he crossed the play.
Yeah, it did. Yeah. Well, had it happened afterwards, it would have been 10 times worse, to be honest with you.
Yeah, true, because then why are you doing that?
I think he just needs to have better situational and emotional awareness.
Great way of putting it.
And I think when you're in the heat of the moment, sometimes that's hard to do. Like, what if a guy elbowed you in the throat, and you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because we've all been there. We've all been over-aggressive or over-angry about something and kind of taken that out on someone else. And I think, it's no different on the football field. I think he just has to have better awareness.
And that just made me think of a moment from when I was younger. Someone else being over. So I used to go to sleepaway camp.
Same.
And I had 2 Jewish boys. It makes sense.
Yeah, hey.
It wasn't a Jewish camp, actually, though. But... So this I was making fun of this. I don't know why. I was young. He had he was walking around with this Bill Clinton book everywhere he went, and I started making jokes about Bill Clinton, and he took very extreme offense to that, and immediately hit me in the head with a flashlight.
Oh, I thought you were. Comment at home. I thought he was going to hit you in the head with the book.
No, it got way worse than the book.
That took a turn.
This is the closest I've ever been to a fight in my life, and I immediately swung back at him, but I was just that was a moment of that guy being over aggressive. Just hit me with the book. Don't hit me with the flashlight.
Yeah, I think that's fair. No batteries required.
I was proud of it. It's good because until you're actually in a fight. I mean, that's the only thing I've been close to a fight. But just good knowing that your muscle memory immediately kicks in and you retaliate.
Yeah, I mean.
So don't hit me in the head with the flashlight. Is all I'm asking.
I think it's more about learning and growing as a professional.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes that. You need some emotional or situational awareness. Deshaun Jackson used to be a hothead. There's
the first play of the season. He had that where he shoved the guy.
Right.
The Redskins, yeah.
So that doesn't really help my point very much.
But he understood that it was the wrong thing. He immediately bounced back.
Right. Yeah. Right. So I just think Barnett missed the field. He's got a chip on his shoulder. Just needs to have better social, emotional, and situational awareness.
There you go. I will say the Packers one was still just kind of inexcusable, to be honest. But
it was rough. Well, he got fined $28,000. So
but
clearly
he got fined the same amount as Zack Ertz, who I didn't even realize did anything, and he brought it up. He said he was appealing it with the league.
Yeah.
But I don't understand the totals. It's $28,075. How did they decide that?
Who knows?
It's not always confusing.
Well, I think it's a percentage of the salary.
Oh, okay, that makes sense actually, but it's still strange. You need that extra 75.
Well, it all goes to charities. So
that's true. Yeah.
Supposedly.
Vontez Burfict is having his appeal today.
Oh, good luck.
Oh yeah, we can read some comments. So this one cracked me up, and I'm going to read it. So I called the Orlando Scandrick sack a rip sack.
Mm-hmm.
Daniel Tim says, when you said rip sack, I immediately thought about an accidental split I did once.
God, we're all telling kid stories now. Huh?
Oh, man, that's great. Wentz did struggle some. Oh, this is from Jamie and Candace Palmer. Thanks, Jamie and Candace. Wentz did struggle some, but has been great. I thought his ACL was going to get hurt when he got sacked and his knee bent. But good game. Thanks for the podcast. Yeah, we both were a little concerned about that.
I mean,
you saw it live. I was right.
His leg looked like a paper mache goose.
But he popped right up almost and felt like he was doing that to emphasize that he was okay.
Yeah, I think he was trying to figure out if he had the endorphins to kind of continue, but yeah.
Okay, so this is like a Smith & Wesson says, I swear the Eagles still fail to realize this game is now about speed and overwhelming offense. Howie needs speed. We need to take Henry Ruggs or Jalen Reagor or T. Higgins with our first pick, then 2 corners and another deep threat wide receiver. So he wants 2 receivers and 2 corners in the first 4 picks. I haven't followed the college football season very much so far, so I don't really know those names. But Nelson needs to go, and Max says he wants to be on special teams. We need speed and youth, and we have neither. I will say, I was talking about this with some reporters the other day. Like, one of the bigger mistakes Howie has made in recent years is just only getting one speed guy. Protect that investment. Like, those speed guys generally aren't as big. Like, Mike Wallace, he was later in his career. I mean, Torrey Smith was later in his career. Deshaun Jackson has always been small and injury prone. Like
Bryce Treggs.
Right. Like, just bring somebody in to develop even, so if you have to throw them in the fire. Like, in retrospect, I think the J.J. Arcega-Whiteside trade doesn't look great, especially because
you mean?
Yeah, the pick. Sorry, not the trade. Because they're committed to keeping Alshon here now because they restructured his contract. He, in theory, was going to replace Alshon. And Deshaun, I'm not sure, has as much time left in the tank as Alshon does. So I think they should have drafted somebody like a Terry McLaurin or, I mean, DK Metcalf is just a freak in general. They should have picked him anyway. But I still think Arcega-Whiteside can be a good player, but I just don't get. And they were working out all speed guys. That was the crazy part. It was all slot receivers and speed guys.
Yeah.
So that part, I don't know. That should always confuse me about Howie's approach. But Brent Donaldson says, I think the O-line played down to the opponent. Overall, I didn't like what we saw with our run blocking. Even pass blocking at times was lacking. Eagles need to take more deep shots to stretch the defense so Eagles can get less guys out of the box for the running attack. This is a really long comment. All right, I'm going to stop there. But so just the point about the O-line. I will say the Jets' defense isn't, like, terrible.
No, they're good.
Their D-line especially. Like, the Eagles were really complimentary of them, and I think it's fair. I think their defense is decent. They have some young talent.
I do too.
LOL King _1 says, Wentz keeps struggling, and no one seems to notice.
I mean, I didn't think he struggled. I don't think he was
blow the top
good.
off. Yeah.
I mean, I don't think he was great, but I think, he missed some throws.
Tim Golden says, great show, guys. What's the early line on the Eagles-Vikings game next week? I believe it opened at 3 or 3.5.
It was
Vikings
-3,
which basically is a pick-em because home team gets 3 points typically.
Right. It's gonna drop down, I think, to 2.
People are gonna be betting Eagles pretty hard.
Yeah, I think it's gonna drop down to 2.
Let's see.
-2, that is.
They made fun of me for my. Okay.
No one seems to ever make fun of me. Have you ever noticed that? I'm sure now I'm going to get a bunch of it.
Yeah, I know.
For the Stephon Diggs
I make fun of you for everybody. So.
Yeah, that's fair.
Holy Tomatoes. I'm only going to read this because I love that username. Hey, guys, I'm glad the Eagles won the way they did. It was a blowout without our offense running up the score or running up the score on Joe Douglas, keeping that good relationship with him on possible future trades with them. How nice would Jamal Adams look in an Eagles jersey? Also, my dad used to play for the New York Titans.
Oh, okay. Yeah, there you go.
Jamal Adams would look good in an Eagles jersey. And
the AFL.
I think another Eagles podcast, they were like joking, like, so what do you think the conversation was like with Howie and Joe after the game? Like, have a good drive home.
Enjoy that offense.
I joked like before the game, when he saw Howie before the game, he was probably like, "Please take me back."
Yeah, I mean,
what a mess that organ.
Hey, he's gonna have a top 5 pick, so.
Yeah. Oh, the Sam Darnold's coming back this week.
Oh yeah, against the Cowboys.
So Joe's trying to help. I see.
Yeah,
what if they beat the Cowboys? That'd be so funny.
If they beat the Cowboys.
Okay, this
this
guy is not a Carson Wentz fan. Crime Scene Louie, another solid username. Yeah. Remember my words. Wentz is a bust. They should have kept Foles. We'd be 4-1 right now with Foles, and he would have never gotten injured. Trade Wentz for a ham sandwich. Oh, wait, no, more. Okay, there's a bunch more. Sam Bradford, part 2. Get ready for the stubborn Eagles. Keeping horrific fence for Wentz for 3 years. I'm done. I'll never forgive this team for trading Foles. # team dynamic matters. I'm not going to read through. He ends it with, I hate you, Howie. My God, this guy really liked Nick Foles. He's a good guy.
Yeah.
What's your favorite part about this?
The ham sandwich. I don't know how that goes through.
I hate you. Howie made me laugh quite a bit.
I'd like to see like ham sandwich on the transaction report. Hold the mayo or something like that.
Steve Kime would trade for a ham sandwich.
Oh man, I could host an entire podcast about his shortcomings. There are
a lot of them.
Have you ever noticed that a lot of people that love Foles speak in a way that Foles would not appreciate?
Yeah, that's a great way to put it.
Have you like noticed that?
Watch your language,
That's like a thing.
Foles has never said I hate anybody in his life.
Yeah, I mean,
besides maybe Jeff Fisher, I don't know.
No, he just asked to be.
I heavily dislike him.
He just asked to be released. I think that was enough. But yeah, so wrapping up the conversation, we're gonna have another podcast on Thursday for you. But if you're watching the Vikings, the key to that game is going to be stopping Dalvin Cook and getting the running game going on the other side. So I would focus on the running backs. You're going to write a great story on Jordan Howard for the morning. We'll talk kind of...
Putting a lot of expectations on me now.
I mean, you already gave away the thing. I'm sure our boss
but
is thrilled.
But I haven't written it yet. You're already saying it's great.
Well, I'm putting the pressure on you. Look, this is going to have to be a big game for Miles Sanders. It's going to have to be a big game for Jordan Howard. Jordan Howard's going up against a defense that he's very familiar with.
True.
Just like he was against the Packers. Just saying.
Another stadium he's been to a lot.
And so, yeah, I think this is going to be an interesting matchup. It's going to be very close. I'm sure our predictions will be very, very close. And, yeah, man, I'm interested to see how this week goes from an injury standpoint because we brought up Sidney Jones. He's expected to play. Sproles, I would almost guarantee he's not going to play. Deshaun's probably got a 25% chance of playing. And... we'll see what's happened. Darby and Jernigan have kind of slipped under the radar. Just because
the timeline is like coming up.
Right. And also keep in mind, everybody's favorite defensive back, is really close to returning, Jalen Mills. Supposedly. He answered a Twitter question. Somebody the other day said, man, we're really excited to have you back. It's coming up soon, and he's like, "Yeah, man, I'm excited. I'm excited to be back." So I don't know if that's a spoiler. I'm not reporting anything. I'm just saying that.
Week 7's coming up close. It'll be after this week when they can activate him.
Yep. So nothing says Cowboys Eagles like Jalen Mills being activated off the PUP.
They could use some help back there. So
I don't expect the Eagles to make a trade this week. I don't expect anything really that notable to happen, especially going into a road game and it's already Tuesday. But there was a bit of news today, wrapping up. I just want to get this in there because I know Zack doesn't think it's that important. So the Eagles traded Jonathan Cyprien for Duke Riley last week. Howie got a 6th-round pick out of it for a 7th-round pick. Jonathan Cyprien was put on injured reserve after one game with the Falcons today. So safe to say Howie won a trade this month. So I'll leave you with that.
Thanks for that breaking news alert. All right, we'll end on that note. Thanks for listening, guys. Leave comments as always, and we'll read them on our next pod, which will be the preview episode. We're going to do a day early this week. And thanks for listening.